Hi guys, we're going to go ahead and put together the last of these builds that I've got together for right now. This one's going to go very similar to the last couple of builds I did, although maybe slightly closer to the 3800X build that I built before. We're going to use probably these two crucial M.2 NVMe 500 gig SSDs in RAID for our boot drive. We've got some G-Skills Trident Z RGBs. We want the B550 board, the Ryzen 7 3700X, and the MSI RX570 graphics card. All of this is going to get put into the Fractal Design Focus G Mini, and this will end up being probably more so used than the other ones, so we will end up going and replacing the stock thermal paste with some Thermal Grizzly Cryonaut thermal paste once we get that far in there. And yeah, other than that, like I said, this will be somewhere in between the levels of the last couple of office PCs I built and from that original RX5, not RX, the original one that I did with the 2080 and the 3800X. This one will not have a conglomerate of RGB fans stuffed into it. We'll have a little bit of RGB in it because of the DDR4 having that, and because of the power supply, which I left over here. Thermal tape RGB power supply. So that's going to be fun. First time I'm going to need to use that, and we'll just see where it goes from there. Alright, so I pulled the camera in a little closer. I noticed on the other videos it was kind of hard to see what I was doing, so I'm going to try to give you a better view of what's going on over here on this one. So, inside of here, what have we got? Bunch of fun things. Bring the I/O shield out of here, and the screws for the M.2 drive. And for now, I think that's it. Eventually, I'll come back and get some other stuff out of there as I need it. There will static tag down. So, this board does come with Wi-Fi. The antennas are in the box. I'll put them in after I get everything else put together. For now, we're going to start this by taking off these brackets that I know I'm not going to need. So they're not in my way in a little bit whenever I get ready to put all that stuff on the cooler of the CPU and all that. So, did not remember to bring the knife with me. Came out here. We're going to try to go a little bit faster than what we did the last couple of times. Also, notice these videos are starting to run a little bit long. But I can't really help myself once I just kind of get into this and I forget that, hey, it's been like an hour and a half since you started talking, so. Usual there. That is into place. Drop this arm again. That's not going anywhere. Now we're going to take the thermal paste and this. I like to apply my thermal paste like I like to apply my Miracle Whip to my sandwiches. I just put entirely too much on here and deal with the consequences later. Alright. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get out some alcohol here. We're going to take the pre-applied thermal paste off of there. Love these little shop towels right here. These are the absolute best at doing this. They're plenty strong enough that they don't just tear into a million shreds as you're trying to do this. They plenty cheap enough. Maybe like a pack with like six rolls? 8 rolls? Something like that. 6 or 8 rolls for like maybe $10. And they're really good at just absorbing this stuff, because essentially this is basically like grease, and that's what they're designed to absorb. Grease and oil and gunk and just general stuff that you would find out in a shop. So these are fantastic for taking this stuff off without leaving a mess behind when you're done. See? We're good there. Like I said, we did apply quite a bit of that on there, and actually, well, this is different. So I actually do need those little brackets. How about that? And this is why we didn't just chunk these when we were done. So. I can't remember on the 3800X if I had the clips or if it screwed down like the other ones did today. I think they all screwed down. That's okay. Because doing it this way is probably easier. Alright. So, when this sits in the thing, it's going to sit this way up. So I want to make my AMD logo face up. So I'll be clipping this side onto here. I remember when these things used to have a tiny hole in it where you could put a screwdriver in there and kind of push it down where you needed it to be. I also remember when these things had a tiny little screwdriver hole in there where you could put your screwdriver in it and have it slip off and punch a hole through your board. So, yeah. But either way, that's applied now. That should be on there. That should have smushed out that exorbitant amount of thermal paste just fine. Now we're going to plug this in right up here. Fan 1. This is going to just fold up a couple of times there, and I will put a zip tie on it so that it doesn't come unfolded. I wonder if I could have found a longer one. Holy cow. Really the longest one that I could find, really? Okay. but it was the first one that I could find, so we're going with it. Alright, now that that's in, we're going to move on here. Got this part off for our M.2 drive. So, on this, one of these would be your PCI Express Gen 3 and the other would be your PCI Express Gen 4, but this isn't going to really matter to us because neither one of these drives are a Gen 4 anyways, so you're not really going to see benefit of one of them being plugged into one of the other drives slots anyways. And then we're going to just run them in RAID, so that will be just fine and dandy. Let's pop this right here off. Place like so. These tiny little screws back in here. Like so. This one. Oops. So, and then it's a good thing that wasn't an actual hard drive, right? It would be clanking before I ever even turned it on. There. Boom. There we go. Got both of those plugged in now. And then we can move on to our RAM. Now, this beautiful set of RAM right here stuff of beauty. Now, not necessarily the fastest, it's only 3000 megahertz, but dual 16 gig sticks for a grand total of 32 gigs of RAM. So we'll be going into this thing. We got A1, A2, B1, B2 on here, just like all the other boards that we've had so far this weekend. We're going to just follow that pattern. Sticking all of these there, pushing down evenly on both sides like so. And you've seen me doing this any at all this week. Probably are tired of hearing me say how to install your RAM. But if you haven't seen it, push down evenly on both sides until you hear the click after lining up the notch. Popping out the power supply now. Ripping out this twisty tie. Oh, I like that. It's rounded. Cool. Plugging it in. Gotta turn the power on this jet to it though. Let's sort through here. PCI, SATA, CPU. Goes in there like so. So. Turn this on. And then front panel should be JFP right here. So, that one. This plugged into. This is not even plugged in. Fun times. There we go. Turn that on. Oh, I did not plug the. So yeah. That's a really good color. It's not going to tell me anything about this thing. And I don't have a GPU in it. So I don't have a GPU in it. Actually, it'd be far better if I just use the GPU that's going to go in it. Then we'll test that. So, we're going to open up the 570 now. This 578 gig is kind of small compared to my 580, also 8 gig. I like this. And a lot lighter also. So let's plug this one in here. And then grab the PCI power. Only needs 6 of them. So we'll do that. And then give me one of those so that I can plug in here, and let me get this one. This one. USB plugged in here. Alright, now we're going to turn this thing on. Let's see if we can't get anything on the screen over here. Okay, those 2 pins back there after we turn on the thing. Turn on the power first. Those 2 pins back there. Everything should spin to life. Alright. Spinning, lights. Everything is good. Let's see if we got video here. Because it's having video or not. It's going to tell us if we're how good we're doing. We're on display for it already. Let's wait to see if this thing shows us anything on the display. Oh, memory modules are found in non-optimized. Oh. Okay, so this one likes A2 and B2 first. I'll remember that. This device total. Alright, so we've got things here. We should be able to get into BIOS now with the F1, and we did. Alright, so everything's looking good here. Go ahead and exit out of that. We'll turn everything off. As we've gone as far as we need to there, we know that it works, which means that it's safe to start dropping this thing into its case that it's gonna be in. Alright, so now that we've tested everything is working good, we're gonna start shoving all this into the case and see if we can't get it looking good in there as well. Rip off all this plastic. What's back on with this? I believe we already had a look at this case once before. If we did not, then I apologize for that, but alright, so right away, this one differs from the other ones. So there's no power supply shroud here. These are falling over. Fun, fantastic stuff there, obviously. It does actually include 2 fans in the front though, so that's interesting. No fan at the back or at the top. It does have 2 bays up here that are 5 1/4. Yeah, 5 1/4 bays up here. It's been a while since I had to say that one. In case you want to put a CD drive, DVD drive, something like that into this case. Back when I was looking at this case, I had different plans for it than what we're doing today, but that's all changed now, so it's good. Let's go ahead and drop this into there. Let's see what all they included in here. Lots of these. They've probably included definitely enough of those. Probably, definitely. That works. Alright, let's go. Speaking of which, how many of those are installed right now? None of them. Cool. So that's definitely going to be something that I'm going to have to look at too. Alright. This one, and that one. There we go. That's the screws for the power supply. So I can move just a little to the side so I can see them better. What I really like about this power supply is it actually includes screws in several places so that no matter how you flip it, in your case you'll definitely have a spot to put the screws in all 4 corners. So that is really cool. So the reason why I'm going here instead of here and here instead of there is, I guess, just out of habit. But because of the layout of this thing, I would actually be able to install them basically in any way that I wanted to. I'm going to go ahead and get this put in so that way I don't forget to do that later. Let's see now, I'm going to start putting in these standoffs here into the case because they were not already installed, so we're going to do that now. Because I need to get out. Oh, I've already got it out. It is. very good or not, but oh, I guess you really can't, no matter how I turn it. Pull that up there. Not that it matters, I don't really need that part right now anymore. Anyways, so. Alright, so now that all of my standoffs are in there and everything is in place, slide this in. So. Good. Actually, I'm going to move this way a little further so that this light right here will shine down in there a little better. Still. Let's see, what did I do with my other screwdriver? Alright, so I found it. Anyways, back to what we were doing here. We'll go ahead and start screwing this thing in. So that part's in there now. Just like so. Now we can start running these things through and getting this all wired up like we need it. Just shove a couple of those at one time here. Start with these small ones. Alright. So let's see what we've got here. We're going to get those things plugged in. So, since there's so much more room in this one, this gives me more room be able to fit my fat hand down here. And in doing so, take all of those connectors, smush them together in the order they need to be, plug them all in at one time. The downside of not having that there is because there's going to be some space here that I'm going to be missing out on being able to hide some of these wires from. So that's going to be a thing also, but we'll have to figure that out. There really isn't a lot of hidey places back here either. Not very deep. So definitely a modular power supply would have came in handy here for this build, but that is not something that that we got. Technically this should come through here and plug into there, but that's going to be such a tight fit. I don't know if that's going to be in or not. So that's going to put a lot of strain on that. I'll plug it in that way. In there. I had to bend that, so I'm just going to come around it. Not use that plug in at all. That'll be fine. And lastly, a regular 2.0 USB, which can be plugged into one of these here if you want to. We'll go to this one, closest and easiest one, like so. That takes care of all of the connectors from the front of there. Let me unhook these cables for these fans though. Try to figure out where I'm going to plug them at. So I do get plenty of options of places to plug fans in on this thing. So, so we can find some place. Let's see. Fan up there. That's technically off. But it's not actually a bad place to go because there is that one that's a system in there. So put in there. Plug it in just like so. And that cord can come right back out that part. If I come into this place, plug in here, and that leaves this just right there. A little bit of creativity on this. Could bring these maybe up the side and then across. I think going down and across would be too much, so up and across on those, that's good. Yeah, alright. So with this, slide that in place because that's not good. The place where this one comes through is a little bit off-centered from that hole, but it'll still be okay. I'm going to do slide it just a little bit that way. And it plugs in just fine. Now, eventually getting different colored cables for that, like maybe get some cable extensions would probably help there, but that would also add extra cable back here to have to manage, so I'm not sure how excited I am about having to do that. So this one is for the GPU, which comes back up. Still haven't put in yet, so let's get that far. So that way, we can plug it in too. That is not really great. So, resistance is futile. Okay, so rip camera again. All right. Anyways, we're gonna take this card here, stick it into there. Yep. That is definitely exactly how I planned that. What did I do? Well, they're thumb screws anyway, so should be able to put them in like so. It's not like this giant thing is in my way. Trying to do this with thumb screws. Well, one like this where you have to reach down in there is a pain. This was actually pretty easy. Don't know why I even tried to do it the other way to start with. Alright, so that's in there. Now I can run the other wire for the GPU. Let's see, we're going to go here. And that is about this level, so we're going to come out this hole with it. And the 6 pin. And actually, I'll use the other part of that, so I have to pull this part back. Actually, no, that looks just as bad. It looks just as bad either way I go with that. So, what I'll do is I will use one of the mini zip ties that they've included with this. Just go ahead and zip tie these two together so that it's not flopping all over the place. That in the trash box and then plug it in like so. There isn't a whole lot we can do about that, but there it is. Technically, I think actually it might even look better if instead of coming through sideways, what if I come from the bottom? Maybe. We'll see how that goes. Alright, so back to what I was doing back here. That's everything. I will need one of these free. Because eventually there will be some other things in here. That up for now. What? So, let's try this again. I suppose the takeaway there is be extra careful with the cheap zip ties that are included with this case. Actually, is there anything back here for me to tie to to keep this actually over here? Is there? That's kind of not great. Wanting to try to keep this extra power cable and that HD audio cable not super close to each other, but we got one choice as to where to tie them off at, so there's a good place to go with these. Really, there isn't. Really isn't a good place to go with any of this. Once I put that side panel in, that's going to be pretty tight. I don't know. So if we wanted to eventually one day switch this out for a water cooling system, we do have a pump header here. If we wanted to get a nicer, better case, this does have the more different connector to hook up the USB 3.2 Gen 2 that I, for some reason, could not say yesterday, no matter how many times I tried to say it. That is as together can be. Now we're going to cross our fingers and hope that we can get this side back on. Now they do leave a little bit of a gap here in this side, so that does give us a little bit of extra room, but it's still going to fit pretty tight because all of these extra wires are really thick. There's so many of them. So my advice to you is, if power supplies are not considered more expensive than gold whenever you're trying to buy them, and you can afford to spend a few extra dollars on a modular power supply so that you don't have to plug in cords that you're not going to use, that would be excellent for a case like this, because even though it's kind of the same color as this, with that thing on it, you can still see that it sticks out here around the edges. And if you look through this cutout where you would normally shove your SATA cables through, you can tell that right here also is more of those cords. Like, you can definitely see all of them there. And there were several that got pushed back right here, and so you can definitely see them there as well. So yes, if you're going to do this and you can afford it, get a modular power supply so that you don't have extra cords to deal with. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time hiding those things. Alright, so inner peel. There we are. Nice and shiny. So that'll be under. And flip the sides back out. One of these things back out so that I can stick the thing back in there. Need the USB cable plugged in here, and then I'll need the power plugged in here. And let's remember to actually plug the power in this time. No. Power button. And see what happens. Alright. Oh, that's nice. Those shine white. Okay. So, seeing it turned on and everything, shining everything, I do like it. But I mean, I know I complained a lot about being difficult to hide cables and stuff. Oh, and I never did swap those two those memory modules around. Anyways, I did complain a bit about not being able to hide cables very well, but you know, when this side down here is dark and this side is lit up, you can't really see down there as much. So it's not that bad once the side's on. But yeah, still save yourself the headache. Get a modular power supply if you can. Other than that, we're good. I'm gonna go ahead and tear this thing down and swap those two modules out. We're gonna put Windows on this thing and get it ready to go.